It's been 28 months since I last visited China, and this is the longest stretch of time that I've been outside the country in the last 15 years. And I have to be honest with everybody, I'm really starting to miss traveling, and I'm really starting to miss China. Now, China has done an incredible job in controlling the COVID-19 pandemic inside the country. Unfortunately, this means that foreigners like myself, who are currently living abroad, it's very difficult to get a tourist visa and go back to China for a holiday. If the world was normal, I no doubt would be boarding a plane right now to Beijing to attend the 2022 Winter Olympics. I was in Beijing in 2008 and remembered the incredible excitement of China hosting its first Olympic Games. But since I'm unable to return, I thought in today's YouTube video I can share with everybody some of the top things that I miss about life in China, and also some of the things I'm looking forward to doing when I do get the chance to return. Let's get started. Now, when my family and I relocated from China to Vancouver, Canada 5 years ago, one of the first things that really makes a lasting impression is the much slower pace of life here in North America. And this is most especially true on the West Coast and in a city like Vancouver. Now, I'm currently filming today in Richmond, British Columbia, which is home to a lot of Chinese people. And again, this is a really great place to live. You know, a lot of people here are very friendly, the quality of life is great, but it's at a very, very slow pace. This really does seem like almost a retirement community. And this is really nice. This is why we have a lot of overseas Chinese that are living here. However, all of us, when we start talking about China, one of the first things that comes up is the fast pace of life. When you're living in the big cities like Shanghai and Beijing, it really seems that these cities are developing so fast. There's basically new areas to explore almost every week. There's brand new shopping malls, there's brand new pavilions, there's so many different things to explore, and it's always an adventure. And that's something that I really miss, is that fast pace of life. It's funny because the Chinese community here in Vancouver have a saying, 文个话，有山，有海，有无聊. Again, Vancouver, Canada is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, but after 28 months of being locked down here, what I really want is another China adventure. Now, the next thing that I miss about my life in China is the China speed and efficiency. And this is something that Chinese expats and local Chinese talk about all the time. It's quite amazing when you're living in China how fast things can be processed and how fast things can be done. One of the best examples I can give is the high-speed rail network that covers the entire country of China. If you're in Shanghai and need to get to Beijing, no problem. Just jump on the bullet train and you can be there in just 4.5 hours. Living in China really feels like you're speeding into the future. For example, here in Canada, we can also use WeChat and Alipay at various Chinese restaurants. However, in China, WeChat has already become your way of life, and everything that you need to do can be managed directly on your cell phone. It's extremely convenient. In addition to that, China is already a cashless society. I feel that when you're living in China, you really are living in the future. I've talked with some of the most amazing and accomplished marketers in the world, and all of them say the same thing. If you want to learn the newest trends and to see where our digital world is going to be in the future, you need to go to China right now, because China is inventing the future technologies that will change our world. And one of those technologies is the new central banked digital currency. Now, over the last couple of months, I've done a lot of videos on this, and it's actually making its debut at the 2022 Winter Olympics. I would love to be back in China right now and using this amazing technology. Again, digital payments is something that really fascinates me because it's able to bring people together. It's able to allow people to become entrepreneurs, and it's basically a better way to connect our entire world. And they really are the forefront on leading the world on this global digital change. Now, the next thing that I miss about living in China is the diversity across the country. Now that I'm back here in North America, I really try to help more people understand China. And one of the ways that I do that is I help describe China as more of a continent than a country. And this is what I mean by this. China is incredibly diverse, and it really doesn't matter what adventure that you're seeking, you can find it in China. For example, if you want to see mountains, deserts, lakes, if you want to see modern cities, if you want to see ancient villages, there is something for every type of traveler inside of China. And this incredible diversity leads to a tremendous amount of adventures. Now, in my 10 years in China, I had the opportunity to travel to over 50 cities throughout the country. but one of them that really stands out to me is the historic city of Xi'an. Xi'an is known around the world for being the home of the famous terracotta warriors. However, there's many more things to discover inside the city. For example, when I visited in 2008, one of the highlights of my trip, and actually one of the coolest things that I've ever done in my life in China, was actually renting a bicycle and riding atop the historic city walls throughout Xi'an. As you can see, I have a tremendous passion for China, and it's currently the Spring Festival, the largest and most important holiday in China. And at this point in the video, I'd like to give a huge shout out to In Xi'an, who is actually the sponsor of today's video. If you're like me, somebody that loves China and unfortunately can't get back, or maybe you're someone that's never had an opportunity to travel to China and you're extremely interested, the team at In Xi'an has developed a completely free online game that you can play on your cell phone to help you learn more about the historic city of Xi'an. The game is fun as it allows you to become an archaeologist and discover your own terracotta warrior inside this interactive game. At the end of the game, it's going to generate a good luck photo that you can download and you can share with your friends across the world as all of us come together and share the Chinese New Year celebration this year. I'm going to put a link down in the description below. Make sure you click it, play the game, and share that photo with your friends to celebrate this Chinese New Year. Traveling across China is something that I miss, and that leads me to the next biggest thing that I miss about my life in China, and that is the incredible food. Now, I do have to say, I'm incredibly blessed. I'm currently living in Richmond, British Columbia, Canada, and as you can see around the shopping market that I've been walking around today, we have no shortage of authentic Chinese restaurants, health stores, and amazing Chinese food. But as we all know, you can't compare the food in China to anywhere else in the world. Truly, this is one of the most exciting things about living and working and exploring throughout China, is that no matter where you are in the country, there's new things to discover and there's new adventures to go on. As many of you can see, I'm a traveler, I'm an adventurer, I'm a foodie at heart, and this is one of the best ways that I really learn about Chinese culture is by exploring the different types of food that they have available. And my favorite food experiences actually come by walking on the streets and talking to the local street vendors. There are a variety of different things that you can try. You never know what you're going to stumble on the streets in China. Now, when I first moved to China, one of the things that I used to do on my days off were go for long walks down the streets of Shanghai. This was an amazing way for me to discover my new city that I was living in, but most importantly, it also allowed me to interact with the local Chinese. And this is how I started to form my impressions of China, the society, and really, this is how I also started to learn Chinese. I never formally studied Chinese in a school, but instead I took to the streets. I was listening to the people. I learned local expressions, and again, I wanted to learn as much as I could about China from actual Chinese people living in the city. And this is something that I really enjoy doing. One of my greatest passions is speaking Chinese, telling stories, and this is why I have a YouTube channel. This is why I want to foster a better relationship between China and the rest of the world, because I think unfortunately there's a lot of misunderstanding. When you get down to the local level and you start speaking with people, you share a good meal, you start speaking their language, you start to realize that Chinese people are a lot more similar to you than they are different. And that's the beautiful thing about this world. During my last trip to Shanghai, one of my most memorable experiences was going to a local park and seeing the Chinese people dancing happily in the evenings. Now, many of you who have traveled to China know that this is a very common occurrence throughout many parks in China. And this park was right in the heart of downtown Shanghai. This is actually one of the top forms of exercise for many elderly couples. They go out as a couple and they go out and dance almost every single evening for their daily exercise. And this is something that I think is so unique about China. And again, one of the things that I really enjoyed discovering. I wish we did more of this here in North America. And this is really one of the lasting impressions that I had on my last visit to China. Look at the gentleman at the center of this video. He doesn't have a dance partner, but here he is, an elderly man happily dancing in the streets. I really hope that when I'm his age, I'm able to be as happy and healthy as him and be able to dance like that. Everybody, I want to know, if you've been to China before, what are the top things that you miss about life in China? And if you've never been before, what are some of the things that you are most interested in discovering about China? I want to wish everybody around the world an amazing Happy New Year festival. This is the year of the tiger, which is a strong year, and I hope that 2022 does bring all of us brighter days ahead. Again, I want to give a huge thank you to Inqian for sponsoring today's video. I want to wish you all a very happy Year of the Tiger and a happy Chinese New Year. 祝大家新年快乐，身体健康。谢谢大家，我们下次再见。